Welcome to This Explainer. I'm Francisco Vital da Silva, though the streets of Sao Paulo ended up calling me something else entirely, Duckfoot Chico. Today, we're unraveling a pretty dark tapestry of broken laws and desperate measures. We're going to look at what actually happens when the very institutions built to keep us safe just abandon us to the wolves. And believe me, I know firsthand the terrifying price of taking the law into your own hands.
They tell you the law will protect you, right? But what happens when the law just looks the other way? Seriously, I want you to ask yourself, what would you do if the system completely abandoned you, if the people you loved most in this world were hurt, and the authorities basically just stamped a piece of paper and walked away? What would you become? For me, the answer was horrifying.
Section 1. A dream turned to nightmare. Let's go back to Sao Paulo.
Back in 1984, I was actually a really hopeful guy. I'd come down from the poor backcountry of Bahia with literally nothing in my pockets, but I had huge dreams. I saved up every penny I could, worked hard in construction, and finally opened up my own little bar on the east side of Sao Paulo. But man, it is wild how fast a community can completely collapse when the cops just give up. We had this massive population boom, and with it came this tidal wave of crime. The police? They were overwhelmed, so they just completely abandoned their patrols in my neighborhood. Suddenly, my regulars were replaced by criminals running up bar tabs and dealing drugs right out in the open. I begged for help. I filed countless police reports, all ignored. It got so bad I had to carry a knife to work just to throw these guys out.
And then came the day my entire world completely shattered. I came home one afternoon to find my front door wide open, the whole place totally ransacked. But I didn't care about the stolen stuff, not at all. Because I found my wife and my 16-year-old daughter just crying in absolute terror. 5 men had broken in and assaulted them. I brought my family to the big city for a better life, and instead, I had led them straight into hell.
Looking back, that exact moment was when one man died and another was born. Francisco the Builder, the humble guy who trusted the police and played by the rules, he died right there in the wreckage of my home. In his place, I went out, bought a white Chevy Opala, and got 2 guns. That's the day the cold, ruthless avenger named Duckfoot Chico took over. I decided right then and there, if they weren't going to enforce the law, I was going to become the law.
I didn't do it alone either. My 19-year-old son, Flavio, was right there with me. Together, we tracked down the 5 men who destroyed our family, and we murdered them. Cold blood. But the thing about rage is, it doesn't just switch off. I looked around at a city the cops had failed, and I decided to deliver my own brand of justice to every known criminal on the east side. It got to the point where regular folks were coming into my bar just to slide me information on local thugs, and I hunted them down. No mercy. In less than a year, I killed an estimated 50 criminals.
But when you're that blinded by vengeance, you are absolutely bound to stumble in the dark. On August 23, 1985, I made a fatal mistake. I pulled up to a bar hunting for my next target. A guy inside spotted my gun, drew his own, and I fired first. But as I walked up to his body, this freezing, sickening dread washed over me. The man bleeding out on the floor wasn't a criminal at all. He was an undercover cop.
91. That is the number of times I was stabbed. See, after I shot that cop, I called a DJ friend of mine and coordinated my surrender. The judge gave me a 6-year sentence. But a broken system can't protect you on the outside, and it sure can't protect you on the inside either. They transferred me to a highly dangerous facility, and during a massive riot in 1987, I met my brutal end. Today, my legacy is a twisted joke. My nickname, Duckfeet, is literally used as local slang for the very criminal militias I used to hunt down.
So it leaves us with this really haunting question. Was I a hero? Or was I just another monster created by a completely broken system? The sad truth is, my tragedy is universal. I was far from the only ordinary person pushed to the absolute brink by a society that refused to protect its own. Section 2. A town pushed too far. Let's look at Skidmore, Missouri.
In the late 1970s, this entire American town woke up to the exact same realization I did. The badge meant absolutely nothing. For 2 solid decades, this guy named Ken Rex Melroy just terrorized Skidmore. I mean, look at this staggering list of crimes. We're talking 21 felonies. Everything from arson and witness intimidation to the sickening statutory rape of his 12-year-old bride, Trina. But here's the absolute kicker. Out of 21 arrests, the guy walked free 20 times. How? By stalking and violently intimidating the witnesses. He played the courts like a fiddle, and the law was completely paralyzed.
By 1980, the town finally snapped, and it started over a piece of candy.
A 70-year-old grocery store owner named Bo Bowenkamp scolded McElroy's kid for stealing a piece of candy. McElroy's response? He stalked the old man and blasted him in the neck with a shotgun. And the worst part? Even after he was finally convicted for this, McElroy just posted bail, walked right out on appeal, and went straight back to the local tavern, openly bragging about what he was going to do to Bowenkamp next.
The town was terrified. A group of concerned citizens literally begged their sheriff for help. And you know what the sheriff said to them? He looked them in the eye and said, maybe you could form a neighborhood watch or something. Seriously, imagine the collective boiling rage of those people in that exact moment. The sheriff casually dismisses their very lives, hops into his cruiser, and literally drives out of town. He just left them there, completely defenseless.
Left with zero other options, the town of Skidmore became the law. A mob of locals surrounded McElroy in his truck right outside that tavern and executed him in broad daylight. When the state police came in to investigate, they found 46 witnesses who saw the whole shebang. And yet, absolute deafening silence. Not a single person gave the cops a name. Just like me in Sao Paulo, those citizens realized true justice had to be delivered outside the law.
Section 3. When lawmen become avengers. Let's head to Tombstone, Arizona.
So we've talked about civilians, right? But what happens when the men forced to take vengeance are the very guys sworn to uphold the law in the first place? Back in 1881, the silver boom in Tombstone brought in this totally ruthless gang of outlaws known as the Cowboys. Marshal Vigilante, along with his brothers Wyatt and Morgan, were desperately trying to keep a lid on things. The tension finally exploded over Ordinance 9, which basically meant you had to turn in your guns when you entered town. Well, an outlaw named Ike Clanton spent the entire night drunkenly threatening to murder the Earps, making a bloody confrontation absolutely inevitable.
From there, the violence spiraled completely out of control. We all know the legendary gunfight at the OK Corral. It lasted less than 30 seconds and left 3 cowboys dead in the dirt. But man, it triggered this devastating endless cycle of revenge against the Earp family. That December, Virgil Earp was ambushed from the shadows and permanently lost the use of his arm. Then the ultimate gut punch. In March of 1882, Morgan Earp was murdered, shot by a sniper's bullet straight through a window while he was just playing billiards.
As Morgan lay there bleeding out on the floor, Wyatt Earp held his dying brother close. Morgan's final words were, "Wyatt, I can't see a damn thing." I can tell you from experience, it is in those exact, agonizing moments of profound sorrow, just like me walking into my destroyed home in Brazil, that a man's faith in the justice system shatters forever.
The authorities actually identified 5 suspects in Morgan's murder. But the courts, they failed completely. Every single one of those suspects walked free. That was it. That was the breaking point for Wyatt. Even as a U.S. Marshal, with overwhelming evidence, he realized the sickening truth. The legal system was going to let his brother's killers get away with murder.
So Wyatt Earp made the cold, hard transition from lawman to vigilante. He put together a ruthless 6-man posse and kicked off his infamous vendetta ride. He executed Frank Stillwell at a train depot. He eliminated Florentino Cruz. He literally obliterated the Cowboys' best gunfighter, Curly Bill Brocious, with a massive shotgun blast. Wyatt hunted them down one by one, methodically, with zero mercy. Exactly like I hunted those men in Sao Paulo.
But here's the thing about vengeance. It always flips the script on you. The Tombstone sheriff put together his own posse of 21 men, ironically made up of the very cowboys Wyatt was fighting, and went after him for murder. The lawman became the hunted. Wyatt Earp was forced to flee the territory as a wanted man, chased right out of the very town he had sworn to protect.
Section 4. The True Cost of Vengeance, a Shared Fate.
When we step back and look at this whole bloody tapestry, my life in Brazil, the town of Skidmore, Wyatt Earp, and Tombstone, we're left with a really sorrowful reflection. Look, vigilante justice feels entirely, 100% necessary when the system breaks down. It feels like it's your only option. But it ultimately demands this devastating, irreversible personal price. I died a brutal, bloody death on a prison floor. Skidmore, it lost its soul to an endless, silent cover-up, forever defined by that one murder on Main Street. And Wyatt Earp, he died in exile, wandering around as a ghost of the lawman he used to be, consulting on Hollywood movies.
So I want to leave you with this final, haunting thought today. Look at our tragedies. Look at the absolute wreckage we left behind us. When the law fails to protect you, does taking it into your own hands actually give you justice? Or does it just make you the next monster hiding in the dark?